It was a beautiful spring day, and the public square of a great Chinese city teemed with life. It was a feast day, and every soul was bent on celebration. People ate and drank in open-air booths, tossed coins, and played games of chance. Into this joyful chaos walked two plainly dressed strangers, a wrinkled old man and a younger one carrying a small wooden box on his shoulder. The two wanderers moved about the square aimlessly, seeming to know no one among the revelers. At last they paused before a public notice posted at the entrance of the town hall. A bystander asked them who they were. The elder smiled and pointed toward the box. "Oh, we are jugglers from a distant province," he said. "We can do many tricks for the amusement of the people." Word spread quickly through the crowd that two famous jugglers had arrived from the capital. Now it happened that the Mandarin, the mayor of the city, was entertaining guests in the great hall at that very moment. They had just finished their feast, and the host was wondering how he might amuse his friends when a servant came to tell him of the two strangers outside. The Mandarin ordered the jugglers brought before him. "Tell your honorable master," said the elder, whose name was Chong, "that we come from the unknown land of dreams and visions. We can turn rocks into mountains, rivers into oceans, mice into elephants. There is nothing in magic too difficult for us." The Mandarin laughed at such boasting, but ordered a performance nonetheless. For a time, the two strangers entertained the crowd with simple tricks. They spun plates in the air, tossed bowls, and caught them on chopsticks, made flowers grow from empty pots, and transformed one object into another. The people cheered, but the Mandarin soon grew impatient. "These tricks are stale and shop-worn," he called out. "Have you nothing new for my guests on this holiday?" "Most certainly, Your Excellency," replied Chong. The Mandarin consulted with his guests, whispering and laughing together. "I have it," he cried at last. "Our feast was short of fruit, since this is the off-season. Produce us a peach, and be quick about it." "A peach?" exclaimed Chong in mock dismay. "Surely at this season you do not expect a peach." The crowd began to hoot and jeer, but the son urged his father on. "If he asks, even a peach, how can you refuse and save your face?" The old man grumbled, yet yielded. He opened the wooden box and drew out a skein of golden thread, fine spun and light as gossamer. No sooner had he unwound a portion than a sudden gust of wind carried it up into the air above the heads of the onlookers. Faster and faster the old man paid out the magic coil, and higher the free end rose into the heavens, until no one present could see into what far region it had vanished. "Wonderful, wonderful!" the people shouted with one voice. "The old man is a fairy." He tied the glowing end to a great wooden pillar, and the whole structure trembled as if it too would be carried into the blue ether. "Everything is ready for the journey," said old Chong calmly. "Shall you leave us?" asked the Mandarin. "My old bones are not spry enough for climbing," came a reply. "My son here will bring us the magic peach." At a sign from his father, the young man tightened his belt and ankle bands, sprang upon the magic string, balanced for a moment on the steep incline, and ran nimbly upward like a sailor mounting a rope ladder. Higher and higher he climbed until he seemed no bigger than a lark ascending into the blue sky, and then, like some tiny speck far away on the western horizon, he vanished entirely. The people gazed in open-mouthed wonder, struck dumb and filled with nameless fear. Only a bright-eyed boy of 8 dared break the silence. "Oh, Daddy, will the bad young man fly off and leave his poor father all alone?" The graybeard laughed and tossed the lad a copper. After a few moments, old Chong fixed his eyes on the western sky. "It is coming," he said quietly. "The peach will soon be here." Suddenly, he held out his hand as if to catch some falling object. Swish, thud, it came like a streak of light, and there in the magician's fingers was a peach, the most beautiful anyone had ever seen, large and rosy. But all this time the old juggler was looking anxiously into the sky. His son, where was his son? He shaded his eyes and searched the blue heavens, but no one could catch a glimpse of the departed youth. "Oh, my son," he cried in despair. "How cruel is the fate that has robbed me of you." Suddenly the silken cord gave a quick jerk, and before the eyes of the people, it fell from the heavens, a silken pile on the ground. The graybeard uttered a loud cry and covered his face. "Alas, the whole story is plain enough," he sobbed. "My boy was caught stealing the magic peach from the Garden of the Gods, and they have thrown him into prison." The people looked up and saw twisting through the air the young man's arm, then his head, a leg, the body. One by one before the gasping crowd, the parts fell to earth. After the first outburst of wild grief, the old man gained control of himself and began gathering the pieces, placing them tenderly into the wooden box. Many spectators wept at the sight. "Come," said the mandarin, deeply moved, "let us present the old man with sufficient money to give his boy a decent burial." Copper coins fell in a shower at the juggler's feet, and tears of gratitude mingled with those of sorrow. Then a wonderful change came over the old man's face. He seemed to forget his grief entirely. Turning to the box, he raised the lid. "Come, my son," he called. "The crowd is waiting for you to thank them." In an instant the box flew open, and before the eyes of all, the young man stepped forth, strong and whole once more, and bowed with clasped hands. For a moment all were silent. Then the crowd erupted in shouts and laughter. Even as the mandarin spoke his thanks, the magic box opened once more. The two fairies disappeared inside, the lid closed, and the chest rose from the ground above the people's heads. For a moment it circled like a homing pigeon, then shot off into the heavens and vanished. Only a magic peach seed remained on the mandarin's table. The corrupt officials,